This video is brought to you by Gamersubs. Use code MHB at checkout for 10% off your next order. The Fallout hype has well and truly engulfed me at this point. Like, I legitimately am struggling to think about and play other games because I just want to play Fallout again. So I think it's about time we start getting some platinum trophies for these great games. But where to start? Do I platinum the first game I played in the series that started this obsession in Fallout 3? Do I go and platinum my favorite game in the series and one of my all-time favorite games period in Fallout New Vegas? Or do I revisit Fallout 4 now that the PS5 update is released? Well, as you can see by the title, none of the above was apparently my answer. I'm not sure why, but for a while now, I've wanted to revisit Fallout 76 because as someone who played this mess at launch, I'd heard the game had improved a hell of a lot. Plus, I thought worst case scenario, I start with the worst game in the series and it only gets better from here. I will say, going into this platinum, I almost did a last minute switch up to Fallout 4, but at that time, I couldn't even load into the main menu, so I took that as my final sign to just give Fallout 76 a chance. So, let's find out what Fallout 76 is like in 2024 and grab our first Fallout Platinum. As always, if you do end up enjoying the content, be sure to like the video, comment below some more platinums you'd like to see me tackle next, subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos, go over to twitch.tv/MayorHairBear if you want to see some of these platinum journeys live, and for those interested in hours and hours of content, make sure to check out the VODs channel as well, where almost all of this platinum journey is up and ready for your second monitor or background noise needs. I think that's enough self-promo. So, what is the platinum journey like in Fallout 76? Well, according to PSN profiles, Fallout 76 ranks at a 4 out of 10 in terms of difficulty, can be done in a single playthrough, and should take us a measly 100 hours to complete. Yeah, we have a decent time sink on our hands, but if the game really has improved, I could spend hundreds of hours in the Fallout universe, so this didn't worry me too much. Big emphasis on if though, because my expectations were at rock bottom going into this game. Again, I was one of those suckers who picked this game up day one because I am a massive Fallout fan, and whilst I didn't hate the foundation of the experience, it was a buggy, broken mess that absolutely killed my interest in both Bethesda and Fallout in general really up until the show was released. I haven't played a Fallout game in almost 6 years because of how big a flop 76 was, so yeah, I was skeptical about loading this game up. But despite low expectations, I would love to be proven wrong. Before we get started though, I do just want to say, in this video we're just going over the base game trophies and the platinum. I do plan on covering the DLC side where I believe a lot of the bigger changes have been made, and if you'd like to see that video, let me know. But for this video, I wanted to focus on the main game and get the truest comparison between the game I experienced back in 2018 and what I'm playing now. So I booted up the game and away we went. Fallout 76 is a prequel to the series so far, set 25 years after the bombs dropped, and the people of Vault 76, including our player character, are sent out to the wasteland of Appalachia to repopulate. Before we can leave the vault though, we do grab a quick and easy trophy right off rip for playing a holotape game. There we go, I was going to say, these are usually a trophy, and we're on the board already before we've even left the vault. And as I was leaving Vault 76, I had a choice to make. Do I start our new character off from level 1 or level 20 with a loadout from the jump? I couldn't decide, so I let chat do it for me. Oh, Reclamation Day, there we go. It's canon, I've left the vault. I took too long here. Alright, I'm most of saying start fresh, and I kind of agree. But now that we've left the vault, we're free to explore the wasteland as we see fit, which for me was initially to follow the overseer's path and figure out what the hell is going on and what I should be doing. I didn't even make it down the hill from the vault though before I completed 5 challenges just seemingly by existing. Tested metal. We've done 5 challenges already. Okay. We'll take that. Now, as I finally made my way to Civilization, I sort of stumbled upon some of the DLC content without realizing, and that sidetracked me completely from the Overseer logs, honestly. But while I was fluffing around with content I wasn't intending on playing until after the Platinum, I was also trying to figure out how to make camp, which is where I gathered my 200 piece of junk. Oh, Junkafunk. 200 pieces of junk already, that's cool. And crafted my first weapon. Fighting chance. Craft a weapon. Let's go. Smash them through it. We'll get this done by tonight. A good 10 minutes later, I finally remembered how to set up our camp. Happy camper. 6% done. We're basically finished. And after some map exploration and generally just getting sidetracked by nearby towns and markers, popped our 20th challenge as well. Crazy when I think about that sort of stuff. A real challenger. That's 20 challenges. Fucking hell. You get a challenge for doing everything in this game. It was here our guide for this journey, and honestly a lot of the stream platinums, the brain cell of the operation, some may say. Jackie informed me that yeah, I'm playing through the DLC, so I changed up my quest, reset my camp, and just spammed a quick 20 photos for yet another trophy. Photo bomber, there we go. So we got our loading screens for the game. But after honestly an hour and a half of getting distracted, I finally made my way to Flatwoods to sign up with our first faction, the Responders. Basically, after the bombs dropped, a bunch of volunteers formed a group to help people survive the new world. But much like every other main game faction, the Responders are no more, so we need to pick up where they left off. Registering as a volunteer, nabbing us our first main story trophy. First contact. Complete first contact. That was a hard quest. Now, I will say this about the main quest story structure, and that is a lot of these factions we join along the way, we're essentially just trying to find other survivors to help us, or at least that's how it feels in the beginning. But the Responders teach us some survival skills as we scour the town for anyone who can help to grab another trophy. Second helpings. We're already up to 10 trophies. We're an hour and 45 in. That's crazy. Before making our way to the airport in Morgantown to again search for somebody, or at the very least answers. However, once I cleared out the airport and progressed the quest further is where something unexpected happened. I had people in the chat download the game specifically to help me get all the PvP trophies out the way, and these are names you'll see frequently throughout this journey for reasons I'll explain soon. But initially they went in with the sole intention of just helping out and moving on to other things. Keep that in mind. So with their help, and after realizing pacifist mode is enabled by default, so turning that off, we managed to kill another player. Kill or be killed. Killed a wanted player, which we got by simply crafting a door and lock at my camp and having Papi pick the lock. Bounty hunter. Alright, we finally got it. Revived 20 players. There we go, field medic. Just right on the money for that one. And the final trophy related to other players for now, killing 20 players. Good grief. There we go, killed 20 players. Some of the rarest trophies in the base game all done and dusted nice and early, but this won't be the last we see of both Papi and Bird, along with some others we'll meet along the way because they both got hooked. Maybe it was the Fallout hype, maybe it was watching the game today and thinking, like myself, it looked pretty fun, or maybe it was just the push of downloading the game. Whatever it was, despite my intention of playing this game pretty much completely solo in the beginning, this quickly became a co-op affair with Bird and Papi being regulars. Not really doing much questing together, but just existing as a team in this world doing our own thing, which might be one of my favorite experiences to date while trophy hunting. Anyway, with that boosting out the way, which is really the only way you can get the kill trophies at least because the community is so damn friendly, which I love, by the way, never change. I finally made my way back to the story, learning of the inoculation project intended to stop the Scorched Plague, grabbing ourselves another trophy. Yeah, there we go, final departure. But again, I got sidetracked along the way to our next quest, ranking up a perk card to max rank. Hey, perked up. Fully rank up one perk. I was not expecting that, but we'll take it. Getting cured of any potential Scorched Plague, and before meeting our next faction and calling it for the night, I made sure to craft 5 pieces of armor for our last trophy of the stream. Second skin. Get a quick trophy right at the end. So in 4.5 hours, we knocked out 17 trophies, and I can't lie, I was loving my time back with Fallout 76 already. And that feeling never really went away. I was always itching to hop back in, and I think that caused this journey to be pretty much grind free, at least in terms of how I felt playing the game. There's definitely some tedium in 76, but the time just seemed to fly by in each and every stream. So once I called my first stream, I couldn't wait to boot the game back up again and keep playing. Day 2 was upon us, and we went straight back to the main story, meeting up with, in heavy air quotes, a faction within the responders known as the Fire Breathers, who are dedicated to fighting the Scorched, which, as you can guess, went rather poorly. But the Vault Wanderer was finally here to help, even if there was nobody left at this point. Whilst completing the entry exams, reaching level 10, Wild West Virginian. And through completing the final test, we learned that a fire breather found a game changer in the fight against the Scorch, and he last checked in from the top of the world, which is where we head to next. That's what I'm playing the game on. Into the fire. At the top of the world, a voice over the intercom sends us off to assemble and install a signal repeater before we can head up, and after doing so, while also getting sidetracked as usual, along the way is how we finally found our first bobblehead. Trophy! Ain't he the cutest? My first bobblehead! With Rose now able to broadcast all over the wasteland though, she lets us up to the top of the world, which is where we learn, shocker, the fire breather is dead, his breakthrough is hidden away, and, oh yeah, she's a robot raider. Okay, the raider part is new, but yeah, she's not a living person. We need to gain Rose's trust before we can progress the story though, by finding 5 holotape keys for a secret cache, which I'm not gonna lie, this storyline drags on for a bit too long for my liking, but it does have a solid personal story behind it. Anyway, as we go and do all these random bits and bobs, I decided to beef up my camp with all my scrap, creating 20 camp items in the process. We must rebuild. There we go. 20 camp items done. A few hours later, yes, we were still going after said keys for Rose, we managed to kill our 300th creature. Pest control. Hey, kill 300 creatures. There you go. And we finally grabbed our 5th key, ready to open the raider cache. However, Rose sends us off to find Rosalind Jeffries, which is where we learned that, yes, this is who Rose was created to mimic. Rosalind was captured by the responders to lure out a raider named Thorpe, but Thorpe thought the responders killed Rosalind, and in retaliation, he destroyed the dam in Somersville, which unknowingly actually drowned Rosalind. I told you, her story is good, but just way too many fetch quests for my liking. Rose tries to betray us after all our help, but has a change of heart. Well, she can't actually open the cache, but anyway. She lets us get our goodies, which is where I reached level 25. Give some context as just how long this all took. There we go. Appalachian Trailblazer. And unlock the key to progressing the story further with the broken uplink, which is what the fire breather had found to help us against the Scorched. There we go, key to the past. And that was it for day 2. Not as rich trophy wise as the first stream, but it was never going to be. Still, basically halfway done with the trophies after 10 hours, we take that. Day 3 was upon us, and continuing on with the story, we took the broken uplink to a bunker where, yes, everyone who could help us is deceased. But Abby has set up instructions to help us utilize the uplink, going from bunker to repair the uplink, and now needing to upgrade the Scorched detectors throughout the wasteland, which is actually where I found and killed my 5th giant creature in the hermit crab, which is such an awesome design, by the way. I love it. Giant Slayer. Oh, there we go. That's 5 giant creatures. With all 5 detectors upgraded, we move on to the final step in Abby's questline, taking the master holotape and rebooting each of the major terminals in the wasteland. Finally rebooting the Scorched detection system and unlocking another trophy. There we go, coming to fruition. I was a little afraid, I was like, is that not going to give me a trophy? With Abby's quest complete, it was time to make our way south to find the location of the Brotherhood of Steel's Fort Defiance, to continue our quest to defeat the Scorched. So, as predicted, the Brotherhood is no longer, but we need answers, and to gain access to Fort Defiance, we need to become a member of the Brotherhood. So we go through and complete basic training before heading to the DMV and calling it for the night. Now, in the beginning of day 4, I did start by going through the hordes of ghouls at the DMV, but it was here I learned about the side quest, the Mistress of Mystery, a quest discovered by finding a specific body around the map that I believe is somewhat random, but thankfully we found it pretty quickly to get us on our way here. And this is what I spent most of day 4 doing, as it is a hefty side quest. First things first, we needed to gain access to the lair, and basically our goal here was to climb through the ranks and solve the murder mystery in this faction. Again though, this is a hefty side quest that took me a solid 3 hours as you rise up the ranks, craft and find new gear, and ultimately reach the rank of Mistress after learning of the family on family crime that took place. However, first let me backtrack to the first trophy we got this stream, because I swear this one bugged out on me. So for the past few days, we'd been aiming to get the trophy Never Go It Alone, which is simply for joining 20 teams. Sounds simple enough, but despite joining up with different teams every 5 to 10 minutes, I could not get this trophy to pop. I must have joined a solid 50 teams before finally, as I'm wandering the wastelands, it randomly decided to pop. Oh my god! Never go it alone! Sake, why was that such a prick of a f***ing trophy? Anyway, with the Mistress of Mystery questline complete, Mistress of Mystery. Back we went to join the Brotherhood, which is where we discovered Operation Touchdown, and another day was complete. I knew that was a trophy. Recruitment Blues. Day 5 started off with going for some quick and easy trophies, since the past couple of days hadn't been great for those trophy popping endorphins. Deciding to go after the daily quest Queen of the Hunt for hunting down, taking out, and harvesting some big behemoths of mutated creatures, which just so happened to, around this point, unlock us a trophy for discovering our 100th location. Thank you. Pioneer Scout, I think that's 100 locations. Woohoo! Them game to get. Queen of the Hunt. Look at this go. 2 trophies already. As I went back to the main quest to track down the Brotherhood of Steel transponders from Operation Touchdown, but along that journey a bomb was about to drop, so I quickly travelled to that location to be at Ground Zero for, well, for a trophy. What else? I want to embrace Mushroom with you. Hey, the boys. That's right. Ground Zero. Let's go. Ding. Back to the transponders though, and what the Brotherhood found with this operation is basically the best course of action against the Scorched is to nuke the Bravo sites, which is where our quest to obtain us some nukes begins. But I think the world has seen enough nukes for the moment, so I decided to tick off some more side content first, which is where I'll bring up the events. Now we'll get plenty familiar with all the events by the end of this platinum, but we did have some trophies related to completing certain events that, I'll be honest, I wasn't really looking for up until this point. Now we had 3 events to keep an eye out for related to trophies. One was Scorched Earth, which is player driven and needs a bomb dropped in the bog, so that was up to me or another player, which is just a random chance to make that happen. 2 and 3 were the Monster Mash and Breach and Clear, which are in the set events rotation, and we got this stream. First was the Monster Mash, which just involves us putting on this mask, grabbing some candy, and basically getting us on the leaderboard. Waiting for 3 rounds, and bang. I was gonna say. Monster Mash. I thought it was bugged on me for a second, but we got it in the end. Let's go. Woo! While I waited for the Breach and Clear event though, I started another daily side quest, Heart of the Enemy, which sees us reboot the Brotherhood's automated research lab. Hey, Heart of the Enemy, let's go. Still waiting for the Breach and Clear event, I made a pit stop at camp to repair some of my items, and this is where I decided to just go ham on building camp items until I reached 100 total. Appalachian HOA. Finally, a Breach and Clear event happened, and well, this is about the extent of my time with the event. Wolverine. Yeah, X-Men Origins Wolverine. That's a fun one. Well, that was That was easy. Yeah, I joined this event just as someone was finishing it, so perfect timing really. With the set events complete, I was reminded of the Overseer logs that I'd completely been neglecting up to this point, which I didn't know was tied to another side quest trophy. So around the wasteland I began to go to retrieve these logs and finish that quest line. But I did get sidetracked briefly to quickly grind out 50 weapon mods for a trophy. A wood, I should say. There we go. Money of Murder. We follow the Overseer logs to learn that she sacrificed her fiance Evan in order to stay Overseer at Vault 76 instead of going with him to Vault 101. She managed to track Evan down, but he was taken by the Scorch Plague, and it's up to us to end his suffering and the quest. Personal matters. But finally, it was time to head back to the main story. We needed to find information on a Sam Blackwell, as we know he has some knowledge of the nuclear bomb system. This leads us to his secret bunker defended by Deathclaws, and once we take them out, we gain access to the bunker and learn through a holotape that we need to head to the bunker in White Springs, as there we will find more answers. Hey, Bunker Buster. And well, a vault to be precise. It's here in the vault we meet an AI named Modus, who tells us we need to find the system access tape to retrieve Modus's lost data. And it was on this quest, with the help of a trusty perk card to hear these damn things, we found our 10th bobblehead. Ah, you sneaky bastard. Swag! And after all this running around and collecting data, we return to Modus, who with all the new information knows the Scorch are too big a threat to Appalachia, and this is where the nukes come into play. Oh, and yeah, we joined the Enclave ranks, which, can I say, blew my mind back in 2018. I thought this was so cool.
Welcome, member.
To our little enclave. One of us. One of us. But that was a jam-packed day 5 in the books, almost as big a trophy haul as the first day, and I was ready for the next stream to finally finish the main story. Day 6 started with us continuing on with the story where we needed to achieve 10 Enclave commendations, which we get 1 or 2 for killing a Scorch Beast, legendary creatures, or one of the Enclave events. So while I was completing this quest, luckily enough our first Scorched Earth event occurred, so I joined in and helped out in the loosest of terms to finally snag the last event related trophy. Just pick up everything she has. Scorched Earth, let's go. First trophy of the stream. Now 15 in, so a bit slower than last time, but it's still something. About half an hour later, I had accrued my 10 commendations, unlocking the second last story trophy. Officer on deck! And now all that was left was to find the nuke keys and code and launch one of these suckers ourselves. We picked our 50th lock while hunting down said codes. Let's go, gimme gimme! And with codes and key in hand, we began our descent into the hardest quest in Fallout 76. Seriously, the final mission in this game is such a sudden hike in difficulty, it's insane. Thankfully, I had the muscle, G&T Puppy, to help me and honestly hold my hand through this quest, because this would have taken me hours and hours to get through. The bunker is a maze, the quest markers keep going all over the place, and the bunker is filled to the brim with robots, turrets, and radiation who do not stop shooting at you from start to finish. This quest can suck a fat egg, but it was here we managed to grind our way to level 50. American hero, there we go, level 50. And with the nuke set to launch, we fire it at the bog to take out the Scorch once and for all. Well, not really, but hey, we get another Scorched Earth event, and that was the main story of 76 complete. I am become death, leaving us with 4 trophies to go. So what did we have left now that the story was done and dusted? Well, we needed to possess 10,000 caps, which I already had, but apparently if you sell your stuff in your vendor machine, those caps don't count. I needed to read 20 magazines, which I had trouble finding so far, hack 50 terminals, which I also had a hard time finding throughout the playthrough, and the ultimate goal was to reach level 100, which by the time I was done with the story, I was sitting at just over level 51. So basically, I had a lot of exploring and leveling up to do to grab 76's Platinum Trophy. The trophy for 10,000 caps I managed to pop today just by completing events, quests, and finding more caps around the world. Moneybags! Let's go! That was it for day 6 though, and even though we were so close to that platinum, man, did it feel like a long way away. We began day 7 with just 3 trophies left, and one being a big jump in levels, and since what we were about to do was on the more samey, boring side, I decided to do some off-stream grinding. My first focus was to find terminals and magazine locations that I could easily repeat by exiting the server and rejoining another world. Now the terminals are a lot simpler to mimic with this method as they're always in the same spot, they just might not be locked. But I had a good 5 to 6 terminal route I would complete and then quit out and do it again. The magazines on the other hand were more random. They still had prevalent spawning locations but not a guarantee. Thankfully, I had no real way of tracking my progress on this trophy, and there was a magazine that kept spawning on my hacking route, which is where I read our 20th magazine. Well, there we go. Literally. Now I'm going to skip ahead to day 8 because it helps explain what the hell I spent all of day 7 really doing between magazine and terminal hunting, and that was trying to level up as efficiently as possible. Now this is where the no DLC quest rule I implemented in the beginning bit me hard, because if you just play through the main story and go through the DLCs, you can reach level 100 no problem. But for me, I had to look to this method to guarantee levels quickly, because as much as I loved Fallout 76, I didn't want to double my playtime just leveling up. So I began day 8 hacking my final terminal. Okay, so this should be the last terminal. I'm pretty sure this is the last one. There we go. Code Cruncher. Not even really much hacking in there. And then it was on to basically completing any event that spawned in. I was interested in 3 events in particular though, like 2 to 3 level up events at the very least, and that was Radiation Rumble, Scorched Earth, and a Colossal Problem, the latter 2 being nuke related. So they were the get there instantly type of events, but good secondaries were by far Moonshine Jamboree, Guided Meditation, and Uranium Fever. Basically, you want events with a ton of enemies that encourage a lot of players to participate, and again, in the most helpful way possible, get at least a shot on as many enemies as you can, because then, if they die, you still get the max amount of XP. Pair these events with a full squad for XP boost, and you can level up pretty quickly. It's still a slog, and the events are seemingly on a loop, meaning at the very least you can't get back-to-back events of the same kind, but this was better than going to locations with high enemy populations and trying to grind XP that way, in my opinion. But again, it is luck based and also doesn't help if your game keeps crashing, which mine did more and more as the hours went on. Day 8, I was determined to reach level 100 though, as I only needed 18 more levels, and I just had the worst luck with events. 1 or 2 of the events I was looking for, some events that were supposed to be good didn't spawn anywhere near enough enemies. It took 5 hours to level up 12 times, and at 2 in the morning, I called it, vowing to platinum the game the next day. Day 9, the final day, and this was the luck I was looking for the day before. Back-to-back Scorched Earth events, all events with high enemy counts. It was glorious, and after just another hour of grinding, we reached level 100, and Fallout 76's Platinum Trophy was finally mine. Fallout forever! There we go. Level 100. And there's the Platinum Trophy. Let's frickin' go, dude. Woo-wee! So, after 52 hours in total, 48 better than the guide, that has to be a new record here on the channel. What did I think of Fallout 76's Platinum Trophy and the game in general? Well, for once I'm going to largely hold off on my overall thoughts on Fallout 76 because I want to experience the DLC and see what further changes and improvements were made on that end. But I will say this. Fallout 76 was by far one of my favorite platinum experiences I've had so far, simply because of the community this game has built. Everyone is really friendly, always ready to help a new player get involved and invested, even giving out care packages in some cases. And in terms of my own community, it was a great time just to even know that, hey, Bird, Poppy, Darkwolf, Sharpie, whoever it was who joined in on the adventure. Yes, we're doing our own thing, but it still felt like a group effort, and I loved that experience. In terms of if this is still as bad as I remember it being, I think it's obvious by now, but no, it's a great time to play. The bugs are largely gone, the world feels alive with both players and NPCs, the combat is a real strong point, and the world might just be the best in the series. It is fantastic. No, it's not my favorite Fallout, as the story still isn't at the same level as, say, a New Vegas, but it does the job and gets you invested well enough to go out and explore Appalachia. In regards to the Platinum Trophy, outside of that big grind I gave myself, might I add, with getting to level 100, this is a very smooth Platinum experience. Complete these quests, check out some events, explore the world, hack and lockpick, build up your camp and interact with players. It again was seriously so much fun, and I'm excited to keep playing, not just to complete the trophies for the DLC now, but coming back to this one in the future too. After I, of course, platinum the rest of the series, which I cannot wait to do very soon. Thank you all so much for watching. If you made it this far, make sure to leave a comment with "Welcome to the Enclave" to let me know that you made it to the end. Make sure if you did enjoy the video to leave it a like, because it helps let me know that you enjoyed yourself. Comment below some more games you want to see get platinum next, as well as your personal favorite Fallout game and platinum trophy. Thank you to all my channel members for that extra level of support, and special thanks to those in the Bear Club: G&T Poppy, Jackie White, Nugget, Darkwolf, Daniel Fitzgerald, Scott Unwin, Steel Vanguard, NPO Crusader, Zafado, Nef, Marcel, and Moon. It really does mean a lot to me. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. Go give my socials a follow if you fancy @MayorHairBear. Join the Discord server to have a chat. Go and chuck me a follow on Twitch if you want to see some of these Platinum Journeys live, or MayorHairBear VODs if those pesky time zones don't line up for you. And I'll catch you all in the next video.